Hi, I'm Daryl Urbanski, and welcome to the Best Business Podcast. My mission is to help create 200 new multi-millionaire business owners. How? You'll do better when you know better. In my interviews, you'll hear from self-made millionaires, seven-figure business owners, authors, and world-class experts sharing how they did it so you can too without experiencing the same obstacles they did. Now, if you like this interview, please share it with a friend you think will benefit. They'll appreciate it, and I will as well. You can also connect with me on social media. Look for Daryl Urbanski, D-A-R-Y-L, Urban Ski, U-R-B-A-N-S-K-I, and add me so we can be friends. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy what I've prepared for you right here, right now. All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Daryl Urbanski, your host as always, and today we are joined by Jeremiah Sarkett. He's the Director of Partner Sales at Keep, formerly Infusionsoft, and he's earned the nickname Shark for his smooth yet relentless sales approach and results. Jeremiah ranks first in all-time sales revenue generated for Keep, plus he's helped over 3,000 businesses automate and grow. He subsequently built a sales methodology called Selling to Serve, being used by numerous businesses and partners to hit multi-million-dollar levels. So I've asked him to join us here today to share his story and help us all improve our sales efforts. So Jeremiah, how you doing, man?
Good, Daryl. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's been great to get to know you too, brother. It's been awesome.
Yeah, it's been good. I love your energy. My girlfriend, every time she hears your voice, she's like, is that Tony Robbins? Anyway, it's just an honor and a pleasure. We got a lot of mutual friends. But really, before we dive into like the nuts and bolts of clearly what you're an expert at, I want to know, how did you get started? I always like to know how people got into this. Do you come from a family of entrepreneurs, or like how? Yeah.
Great question, brother. No, I actually don't. I was doing some different stuff. I was in educational sales, admissions, and I was working for a couple of the larger for-profit universities in the country. And then I went and worked for my alma mater, Arizona State, ASU, the Sun Devils, and helped them launch their online program. But a lot of my friends were at Keep, formerly Infusionsoft. Yeah. And then they just kept really hounding me, somewhat harassing me to come down there and check out the software and the team. And I finally did. And the rest is history. I'm glad that I did that.
That's fantastic. So in your progress, has it always been a focus on sales? Has that really been did you try different things or?
Yeah, great question. I wanted to be a broadcast journalist. That was my goal. And then I wanted to go to law school and pursue like a sports agent, the agent side of it. I wanted to be a sports agent. I was a former college soccer player.
Really?
So I had a lot of athletes and high level athlete friends. And it was something I was thinking about doing. And then I saw that I had a little bit of debt accumulated from, taking a little bit longer than I should have in school. I was on the 5-year plan. So kind of got my stuff together, graduated with honors, got out of there, and realized law school probably wasn't in the cards right now. So go work, and the first job that I found was actually in that for-profit space of higher ed. But I had done sales previously when I was, kind of growing up through adolescence. I was working for a company called Cutco Cutlery. They're a great American company. They do cutlery, knives, expensive, nice knives, right? Yeah. So I would go door to door.
I bought the Ginsu knife. I was one of they got me.
Yeah. So I would go door to door, Daryl, and sell. And that's how I learned how to really manage a book of business, how to create relationships, how to get referrals. Yeah.
Yeah. We've had a ton of experts on this show, and it really seems, right now at the time it's recording, you can't necessarily go door to door because of the pandemic, but door to door sales, it's tough to find something that gives you the same skills and background as that, how did that go for you? Was it just the immediate success right out the door, or did you have to learn some things, or?
Well, it wasn't easy. And it wasn't like, I wouldn't canvass the neighborhood. I would get some hot leads and then try to go and see a couple other people if I was, feeling bold, right? I'd knock on some doors, but I actually had a true door knocking job where we would sell. It was basically an auto shop had put together these coupon packs, oil change, tires, like all of the basic stuff that you would need to do with your vehicle. But you would buy the coupon card at a couple $100 rate, and you could use the coupons for the various things throughout the year, right? For the various services. And that was true door to door. They would literally drop you off in an apartment complex, 3 or 4 guys, and you would go and hit the whole, apartment complex, and they'd come back and pick you up.
So what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced, like in developing your career? I mean, it takes a while to get your 10,000 hours type thing and, figure out methodologies that work.
Good question. I think probably the hardest thing for me, and I see it with most salespeople, is like self-awareness, understanding who you are, what drives you, your why, right? And then, making it about your customer. I think salespeople make it about themselves too much and their wants and their needs, and it's got to be the reverse. So once I realized kind of how to get out of my own way, so to speak, and make it about the customer, it really changed for me.
Got it. So let me try to make sure I understood properly. You mean like the sales reps take it personally, and they're really more interested in like how much time I've spent trying to get this account, and like you kind of like
they want something. They want a Rolex, or they want a car, or they want to do this, and they want to do that. But it's like, what does the customer want? Place those needs before your needs, and you actually get what you want at the end of the day. You get the byproduct. So it's removing those wants, coming from a place of congruency, a place of abundance versus scarcity. I think a lot of the salespeople come across as needy, right? They need the sale. Like, I have a quota to hit. Like, nobody cares about your quota, sales guy. What can your product do for me?
Yeah. I got that. We're changing countries, and I asked a couple of questions, and there's like 4, I think one of them got like 25 replies, but there's 4 or 5 people, all they did was just spam it, like, buy my shit, like, buy my, and it's like, bro, I opened this, like, give you perfect opportunity to open a conversation with me. I just replied, and I was like, I think you'd have better odds of success if you actually started talking to people versus just spamming them to buy your stuff. Like, that was really like, hey, I've got a visa agency. Yeah, that's great. I can Google one, but I have a question I need to answer first. So how do you help your team in that, get into that mindset and that state of existence type thing? Like, how do you detach from the fact that you got bills to pay and kids to feed? And
well, you got to talk about it, and you got to catch your teammates in those states, right? If you don't talk about it, right, you're missing that opportunity to help them change their mindset, to help them change their belief, their patterns, some pattern interrupt here. And if you could do this, that's what true leadership is. It's not managing somebody, you're leading them. There's a difference between leadership and management, right? That you've got this. And then so there's the fine line there of, hey, hold on, I need to put my leadership hat on here and catch that and address it before it boils and festers, right? And then that's where, as a leader, you're not going to be as effective helping that employee.
Right. Now, what would you recommend to someone that's starting out or struggling? Like if they're just, a sole proprietor, or even if they're a small team, 2-3 people, like what are some of the issues that they should look to try to diagnose?
It kind of varies, I think, across the board. I think a lot of small business owners are struggling, wearing too many hats in the business, doing too many things, right? They need help. And that comes through people. And it doesn't always have to be like a full-time employee. A lot of small businesses can't afford to take that jump right away. But a lot of that relief, right, could come from a joint venture, could come from network, somebody in your network that could provide some assistance. I think scaling with people is a challenge. I think, believing in themselves as a leader is also a challenge, like understanding their capabilities. I think a lot of small businesses that we work with are frantic a bit. They're lacking some confidence, right? They're not able to make long-term decisions or short-term in their thinking. So kind of freeing people up, I think is really what I'm tasking my team to do. Free these small business owners up so they can see, they can be visionary, they can get up over the business again. And again, usually that comes through division of labor. You got to get some help. Who's helping you in the organization?
Right. So it's like you got to buy, borrow, beg for something, like the resources you need, and figure out a way to partner with people share staff, share resources, find a way to try and get it to where it needs to be, I guess. So that way you can, so what's the focus then? Like you said, you've talked to, I'm working with Keep, you've talked to thousands of business owners. So are there typically like a few buckets? Like you already kind of mentioned some, and forgive me if I'm kind of rephrasing the same question, but what are the kind of categories that they struggle with?
I think there's 6 things specifically that I try to impact. And this is maybe more of a recent focus. The last couple of years, I've seen this. I've identified these six things, if you will. I call it Shark six pack. So one would be division of labor. We've been harping on that a bit. You've got to grow your business with people. You can't scale any other way. Like you just can't. And if you want to have a small business, that's fine. You could be a solopreneur. There's space for you there. But most people that I work with don't want that. They want to get off the grind, off the treadmill, so to speak, and stop, wearing 15 different hats, spinning 20 plates in their business. So division of labor. Number 2 is sales process, and specifically buyer's journey. You have to know your avatar, your clientele inside and out. You have to know them intimately. And then you have to carve and craft your sales process around your buyer. They don't need to fit into your process. You need to fit yours around theirs and their style and their buying, personality. So that's critical. I've seen a lot of amazing products, business owners that don't figure that sales process and that buyer's journey out, and they're not as effective. They're missing the boat. So 3 would be events. I know COVID and the pandemic has really changed the event space, but virtual events now. And physical's coming back. So it's huge for small business owners to show up at these events, network, educate themselves, develop, but also hold these events. They don't need to be huge in structure. Do a lunch and learn a couple times throughout the year where you're getting 20, 30, 40 people together in a room. Again, your avatar, and you're educating them and providing value and building trust. And a lot of that is lead generation. And then you can sell, obviously, from the event. And then the 4th piece would be, the fourth piece is content in the form of case studies. Because the consumer today is saying, I don't want to be sold. They've always been saying this, but they're saying this more so because of technology. They're educated. They know more than they've ever known in the life of the consumer. And you can study the history of the consumer. There's been science and data, a lot of research done on this. So they're educated more than they've ever been. They don't want to be sold. They want value. And in the case study, that user material, the use cases is amazing for the sales process. It's tremendous in advertising. Bless you, D. And then that would be the 4th piece is going to be, you have to do an ad spend for yourself. Small business owner, you have to show up, and it doesn't have to be maybe Facebook. Maybe that's not the medium for you. Maybe it's a mix of LinkedIn ads, Facebook, Instagram, local directories, so on and so forth. But what's your mix? What's your advertising mix? What's your budget? And then the last one would be strategic partners. And you might say, Shark, you could rank strategic partners higher up the list, and I would probably agree with you. But strategic partners are people that influence your business with referrals, monetary assets, and then thought knowledge. It could be somebody that just helps you grow personally. Maybe they haven't developed a scent into your organization through referrals, but they're giving you a shoulder, right? They're giving you a heart and a brain to bounce ideas off of, and so on and so forth. So that would be my 6-pack. And those are the things that I think a lot of small businesses and businesses in general struggle with.
Yeah, those are fantastic. So, and I agree with you 1,000%. So just to recap for people, it was division of labor, the fact that you need people to grow. You can try to automate things as much as you need, but at some point you need, somebody sitting in a seat, doing something.
Doing that grunt work so you can be up over the business, really. Yeah. Closing deals or doing the PM role. Yeah.
Yep. And then on top of that, there's a sales process, which is really about knowing your buyers and their journey and their reasons why they buy, and just talking to people, face to face, kneecap, kissing babies, shaking hands, or virtually. The third, what you said, was events. So not just going to events to network, to educate yourself, but then hosting events, using events as part of your marketing to generate leads, right, to kind of create a scarcity, like, hey, this is happening this day, this time. If you're not there, you miss out. because otherwise, right, it's a forcing function, I think. And you gave a great goal of 20 to 40 people. Start hosting events. I actually just signed a new client last night, and they're doing that. They have an event they do every 60 days. They do a workshop.
Nice.
And it's exactly what they're doing. They're like, we try to put 20 to 60 people in there every 60 days, and and then they upsell from there, and it seems to work great for them. I love how you said the content, and especially case studies. So content, it's just about being in front of people, I guess, in a non-salesy way. And case studies are fantastic. I want to talk about case studies in a second. Share Tim pointed that might help people listening. Nice. I still think that's fantastic. The next one was advertise. You got to advertise your business. So what was his name? They did a movie about him. Hugh Jackman was the guy, the circus guy.
The Greatest Showman.
Yeah, he wrote a book in the back, and one of them was it's on my phone, but I don't want to be on my phone right now. It's under a book, but it's I forget his name now, but he was it P.T. Barnum?
P.T. Barnum, yep, there you go.
P.T. Barnum. Well, he's got a book on business success, and one of it's like advertise your business. Like you've got to advertise. If you don't advertise, and even Gary Vee, I heard one of his mastermind videos way back. He's like, everyone needs to be producing 10 times more content, but 80% of your focus needs to be on the ads that are driving your sales. It's like,
and you think about it too, that he's old school, right? My goodness. And think about how polluted the communication channels are now. We're getting bombarded.
And censored.
So you got to show up, small business owner. You got to show up on somebody's feed. They got to find you.
Yeah.
You'll be top of mind.
And strategic partners. There's never been a faster way to grow a business that I know of than strategic partners. Like one person's built an audience. Like I always say, there's 3 ways to get traffic. You can buy traffic, you can borrow traffic, and you can build traffic. So buy it, pay to advertise, borrow it. It's kind of what we're doing. You're borrowing my audience. I'm going to borrow your audience off your name, and you build it. Like, again, I got this podcast and I've been building audience over time, your social media following. So I really love that. If I wanted to share something though, because last year I spent 50 grand on research on some of the things that help move the needle for small and medium-sized businesses. And it was because I was advertising and I had case studies, and Google shut down my ad account and said, because my case studies were too fantastic. And I got upset because I'm like, what the hell is the point in having, like, I could give you their phone. I was like, I can give you their phone numbers, call them. And they go,
these are real guys. Yeah.
Yeah. And they said, we don't have time to fact check everyone. And I said, well, what is the point of having a video testimonial if you're going to say that it's too fantastic? So I actually started looking into the tiers of evidence and what is quality proof?
Right.
So some of the things that come up, I can't seem to load it right now, I guess because I'm streaming, but there's basically tiers. And so when it comes to the tiers of quality evidence, at the very bottom is expert opinion. Expert opinion is the lowest tier of at least the scientific evidence. Like we're talking about vaccines a lot now and clinical trials. You hear that a lot in the news, the media. And what does that exactly mean? The bottom is expert opinion because it's hard to differentiate and separate who's an expert or not. There's also endorsements and that sort of thing. So at the bottom is expert opinions. Then you've got personal accounts, testimonials, reviews. Above that are endorsements and certifications. Above that, you have case studies. And a case study is actually really fantastic, but most people aren't doing case studies. They're doing expanded testimonials. A case study, the way it should be done, if you want to be super scientific about it, it's called a preprint if you're doing it in a journal. Basically, you're making a declaration before the events unfold. Hey, this is who we've got. This is what we're planning to do. This is how we're planning to do it. And then you record and document the process as it goes. And then on the back end, then you publish a report of what happened. How a lot of people do case studies is they're just, hey, we have this client, they get results. Let's do a case study. And they do an in-depth interview. But that's what I had done. And that got me, it got me like Google slapped or whatever. And so that's just something I wanted to share with people because I think it's really important because the B2B space can be easily polluted. I always try to really vet people before they come on my show. Clearly, that's why I want people like you and the other guests I've had here. Above case studies are cohort studies, and that's where you have a group of people and it's similar, but a case study is just like one person. So again, you have to make the declaration in advance, right? You have to explain this is what we did, this is what our plan was, document it as it goes, and then recap on the end. And of course, the highest level is a randomized controlled trial where you've got your placebo group and the control group. So in terms of like quality evidence and how, and like, an academia and just being legitimized in terms of your credibility, I think what you said about case studies is fantastic, but I am seeing on an international scene that different like Facebook is a great example. Like there's a lot of people that are having issues with Facebook ad accounts getting banned and stuff, and they're like, what gives? And so I just wanted to share that a little bit, that was something that we came up with. And what you said fits in perfectly. With that research, we actually found that there were 8 success factors, and that was self-efficacy, which you talked about before with the sales reps, the fact that they have to like their mindset, that they're in it for the wrong means, or they're just not being effective or productive. Strategic planning, which marketing strategy, market intelligence, which you mentioned is like the sales process, understanding the buyer's journey, sales strategy and skills. And I actually want to ask you to dive a bit deeper in this in a second once I go through all 8. But sales strategy and skills is a super important one. Money management, business operating systems, that's like meeting rhythms, documentation, how you hire and train for people, and then business intelligence, which are the feedback loops. And that's what we came out with after searching, going through the entire scientific, all the scientific journals that we could get access to, and going through all the studies that they did. Those were the 8 factors. And can you talk a bit about sales skills versus sales strategy? Because that's its own category in itself. And we kind of, like, again, we found 26 meta-analyses, and they all had different factors, and we created these umbrellas to kind of catch them. But can you speak to that? Is there a difference between strategy and skills, and what are the nuances? And
well, there is, but I think when you get granular, strategy boils down to, in a lot of ways, the raw numbers game. How many people do I need to contact on a daily basis to have a conversation? And from a conversation where the skills come into factor more, right? How many of those people are going to become customers? So, I mean, strategy from when do I call, right? When do I email, right? Software can help with this too. You know, Daryl just opened my proposal. My software just told me that maybe I should give him a call or shoot him an email or a text saying, hey, how are you doing? Do you get a chance to look at those numbers yet? Right. So there's some differences there, but you know, I think skill for me, anybody can learn sales. Mindset is what I look for, right? Because not everybody has the mindset. And if you don't have the mindset, right, I can't develop the skills. I can develop skills. You can develop skills. Strategy too is something that needs to be taught. A lot of new people don't understand sales strategy, especially working in blocks of activity, for example. You know, they could work all day long and, you know, burn themselves out with no type of structure. I see that a lot with new people on a sales floor, sales reps in a larger organization. So burnout's a factor, but like there's certain things that I learned along the way from a skill perspective that helped sharpen my game. So I think strategy's first and then skills second, but you know, you can't have any of this without mindset.
I love that. I love that, because there's a lot of debates about adaptive selling, consultative selling, high pressure, you know, all this kind of stuff. But I and please correct me if I'm wrong, but like I said, I actually feel like the principles matter, and the strategy, you know, the principles guide the strategy, and then the rest is, a lot of it is just the tactics. And so
right.
I think like that's really helpful. Like you was talking about like as long as your mindset's in the right space and you come, your program even, it's called what? Selling to serve. It's what is it? It's selling to serve. Yeah. So even if you come from that place of servitude, like it's almost like because you have that foundation, it just solves a lot of problems proactively. Because when you come to the conversation, you know, you're coming with the right mindset, you're coming with the right attitude, you're probably coming with an intent to ask more questions than to do more talking. I don't know if that like
100%.
Okay.
The questions, you're an interviewer. If you really want to break it down, you're interviewing your prospect. And if you take it from that type of angle, it really it creates a process automatically, right? You know that you need to ask certain questions on every single call, or you're going to miss it. That was what I saw when I was selling specifically at Keep. If I didn't fill out my questionnaire form completely, there was a good chance that person was going to take a while to sign up. If I filled that sucker out and asked all of the questions, they bought every time, literally.
Yeah, I love it.
Or within my time frame. If that makes a little bit more sense, they bought every time. They bought within my time frame.
Yeah. So what would be kind of like a habit checklist that you would recommend to anybody that's listening to this call in terms of, trying to maintain like what you see in your highest performers?
Good question. I would say structure your day, right? Know who you're calling and when. Have an opportunity for reflection, training. If you can have your calls recorded, amazing. So you can listen to those, right? And then I would say probably, the biggest thing is to not get caught up in this where you're taking rejection personally. You want yeses and nos. The maybes are what kills salespeople and small business owners. Like when they can't close the business with a yes or a no, like, work for the yes and the no, and don't take it personally. I think that would be the biggest advice right there in a kind of a short bulleted format.
No, I love it. I love it. I think that's a fantastic list. I would put your questions in there. What you said about questions, I would put that in there too.
That's the flow. You're right. That would be probably the fourth thing. You got to have a flow that you're following.
Because that way, at least I know for me, it helps with that, taking it personally. Because if you're asking the questions and you find out in the questions that it's not a fit, then you're not taking it personally because they're not qualified, But
you've done the diligence, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to have a flow, guys, not a script, but a flow.
Flow.
And that's what I was talking about with that questionnaire form that I had. I would have this printed out, old school style, and I would handwrite on each one of them, right, and fill each one of them out if I could, right, for the great conversation. So I'd print off like 50 or 60, to start the month, and I'd have them stacked up on my desk, and I'd write your name and the time that I was talking to you in the top right corner. And that was important too, because if I needed to call you back and I was chasing you around, I go, what time did I get him on the first call?
Yeah.
12:45. Maybe I should call during lunch.
I love that. I even like the physicality of it, because if you have a stack, you're like, I need to get these filled out, right? Because when you put it on the line in a computer, I mean, different things work for different people, but you put it on online computer, you close your computer, it's gone. But you got that stack on your desk, you're like, that's potential sales. I need to get out of this. If I can get this many filled out by good people, that should turn into this much sale. And I love that you broke it down, like meaningful conversation. How many people do I need to talk to have a meaningful conversation with someone who's actually qualified to buy my product or service? So many sales reps. Yeah. That's a huge. That was a big aha.
I wanted to handwrite too, because I didn't want to be distracted typing into the CRM. Like, it created an extra step for me because I had to go back into Infusionsoft, type in my notes, but they were clear and they were better because of that step. And I was listening. I was having good conversations, right? And I wasn't distracted on my keyboard.
Yeah, and especially just computer, because it's almost like a battleground. Everyone's fighting for your attention. Even when you try, even this interview, I'm having pop-ups and I'm trying to hide them, and I'm like, how do I can't not, I have to shut up my internet. You know what I mean? To get these things to leave me alone. And it's so I love it. I love it. So undistracted, and I love that physicality, because it was also like one of those, remember those fundraising thermometers in like public school as a kid, and they fill it in as you went. Like, I feel like that sort of target, that giving people that sense of progress. I just love that. So let's quick recap, because I know I want to be respectful for your time. But you said like the 6 keys were really having a division of labor. And so that way, right, you're not going to be able to scale on your own. You have to be willing to get help and try to, make it realistic. And burnout, you said, was a big thing. And so you have to respect the fact that rest, it's like silence is a part of music as much as noise is. Rest is a part of work as much as working is, right?
Balance, yeah.
And then the sales process, understanding your buyer's journey, which really means, in my language, I would say that's your market intelligence stuff that you need. And then you do need sales skills and the sales process, because otherwise, if you leave people up to their own devices, they'll get back to you whenever. And then events, using events to really create urgency, to create forcing functions to get you to like get off your butt and go. Like, you're not going to make any sales cackling to yourself in your room, right? And so
lead gen, content, sales opportunity all day.
Right. And then it was content and case studies. So you want to be sharing content. And ideally, I think the point was content about your clients, ideally from your clients. So it's not necessarily you talking about yourself, but it's people sharing their experience with you, or you're talking about them, and just kind of all of a sudden trying to show that you have more of a community. The social proof of that is powerful. And then you just got to advertise. You got to advertise.
Well, then you can use that material in the advertisement too.
Right.
So it's kind of a, sales process top of funnel, but then also, you could use it throughout.
Yep.
And, I'm a big story brand guy, Daryl, like story sell. Now that's what the consumer wants, is story. They want to see somebody like them that's taken the step and has done it.
I love that. Yeah. And they advertise. Before, a lot of people, instead of advertising, they just paid high commercial rent fees because the location was its own advertisement. But now that's been taken off the board, people are like, how do I reach my market? And it's, they don't advertise, they don't build a list. So you really need to advertise. And then you talked about strategic partners, which I think are partners in the sense of sharing resources, sharing staff, partners in like a white label, like, hey, like I know a guy that launched a Kickstarter, and he just partnered with a couple of influencers, and they drove the traffic. He, ran the Kickstarter and
100%.
fulfilled, and that launched his business. He did $1 million. So strategic partner is fantastic. And then you talked about the habits that people need in order to be successful with their sales routine daily. And that is to structure their day, to know who they're calling and when, to have a period of their day for review, reflection, ideally to be able to do some sort of training.
Listen to your call.
Listen to your call and recordings. How did I do? How's right? Like, and then on top of that was, what is this? Go for yes or no. Go for yes or no.
Ask for the business, 100%. And then you added the flow, right? You got to have the flow.
The questions.
Yeah, the questions, 100%. The EQ, the engagement questions is.
I like that. The EQ. And it also, I don't want to shameless plug here for both you and me, but it also sounds like here, like it really helps to have a mentor at the same time. Like you can try and figure this out alone in a room all you like.
Well, I put that in the strategic partner bucket. A lot of people, when they hear the strategic partners, they think somebody that's just sending me leads or business. Somebody that's also there for thought, for reflection, bounce back, for, hey, am I doing this right? And kind of like a big brother. Yeah, that's huge, Daryl.
Yeah. Well, how many people have won a gold medal at the Olympics without a coach? I just don't think that really happens. If we took two people that both wanted to win a gold medal at the Olympics for something like judo, and one's just going to be in a garage with some buddies and some VHS tapes, and the other one's going to get, 3 or 4 coaches that have been there and won gold medals, both have the potential to win a gold medal. But I think it's pretty clear who's going to have less heartache, less pain, less suffering, fewer injuries, fewer frustrations, sense of overwhelm. It's the one that follows the coach. So, it's the perfect time for a plug. You've got some programs, right? You have an online course.
I've got it. The online course isn't done yet. It's supposed to be done here shortly. I keep getting too busy to finish this thing. I'm almost done. So the online course should be done within the next couple of months. It's right there.
If you're listening to this, our stuff is online forever. So go check out Jeremiah Sarkett.com.
JeremiahShark.com, and you can get a feel for the consulting that I do, the one-on-one work, and then you'll see the placeholder for the online course that's coming.
Yeah, JeremiahShark.com, Jeremiah Shark, SHARK.com. You can also look him up on social media, Jeremiah SARKETT, Jeremiah Sarkett. I'm supposed to say shark, but now, Jeremiah, again, I want to be respectful for your time. Was there anything I didn't ask you that I should have asked you today?
No, this was cool. This was a great dialogue and conversation, and I'll jump back on anytime with you, Daryl, if you want to do more. It's been great to get to know you. I'm thankful for Joss and the introduction.
Yeah, me too. You're a good guy. So awesome. All right. Well, again, thank you for everyone that jumped in and has been paying attention. Jeremiah, I appreciate your time. I know you got to go be with your family. And again, for those of you listening, if you reach out to Jeremiah, if you've got some questions, again, anybody's accessible in a couple of clicks, try and figure out, there's 3 types of people: those who watch things happen, those who make things happen, those who watch things happen, and those who wonder what happened, and which one do you want to be? So,
Love that, Daryl. Nice.
You've reached the end of our interview. Now, first, let me thank you for listening. I appreciate and respect you more than you'll ever know. And now I'd like to ask you a couple of questions. First, what 3 lessons did you just learn? What 3 aha moments just jumped out at you? Second, What can you implement for yourself and your business in the next 24 hours? Third, what can you give to someone else to help you with, or give them to just do it for you? Whatever it is, remember, taking action is the secret sauce to results. Now, if you think this interview would be helpful for a friend, please give them a link to it. It'll help them and it'll help me too. I'd also like to invite you to help me find out more about the challenges you're facing, your dreams, your goals, and how I can help you overcome what's holding you back. We both do better when we know better, and your success is my success. So please reach out and interact. You can visit our website, bestbusinesscoach.ca for Canada or California, where I'm from and where I'm living. You're welcome to also try out one of our paid programs. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and pretty much every other social media channel you can think of. You should also subscribe to the podcast, and if you're enjoying them, please leave us a nice review. It really helps. That's all for now. Once again, thank you. Take care of yourself, and remember, the world needs the best business you can build. And I believe in you.
So look, I was privileged enough to sit in the room the other day and listen to Daryl present.
I had the great fortune to spend some time with Daryl Abrinsky during this week, and we had an incredible 2.5-hour presentation with Daryl.
Daryl was amazing. I got so many little nuggets of wisdom.
I hadn't heard Daryl speak before, but what struck me from his presentation was
he is one of these hidden masters in the internet marketing world who's worked on some pretty incredible launches.
Daryl has a ridiculous amount of knowledge.
Daryl Abrinsky's presentation was absolutely great. I really loved
an incredible knowledge of numbers. He is a very articulate, very knowledgeable, very advanced marketer.
Well, he talked a lot about keyword tools and how to research your niche.
So it really created a lot of predictability around moving forwards in our business with the marketing and sales aspect, which is so important to any business to really see it grow.
Where he walks you through step by step
how to judge in detailed form how much money you could potentially make from a market based on AdWords, keyword research, and putting together quite complex Excel spreadsheets.
And what I took away from it is not only understanding your niche market, but also looking at and breaking down and going, am I working with the right niche? Is there enough demand there for me to be able to reach my goals? And doing that hard research.
There's a lot of gurus out there that present you a lot of the why and the what, but they don't necessarily give you the how. And what I really found with Daryl's presentation, there's no holding back. There was no holding back the screens or the curtains. Like, everything was given to really assist us.
His feasibility and due diligence is incredible, and he was able to show us in a really short space of time how to cut through the overwhelm.
You're giving us the exact tools that we can use to test something before we even go to start testing it by spending money on it.
One of the biggest nuggets that I got out of his presentation was that when people pay, they pay attention, and when people pay a lot, they pay a lot of attention. I just love that. I think that's a great way to look at how to price yourself.
And he was a great speaker, lots of energy, and it was really great to spend time with him.
Honestly, phenomenal presentation.
I would love to catch up with him, next time I'm in this part of the world.